Are you looking for something special to remind you what a mystical experience prayer can be? Are you looking for something beautiful to hang in your car for protection? Try Prayers by the Bead. You'll find a variety of original, one-of-a-kind Anglican prayer beads, Lutheran, Methodist, Catholic prayer beads that are made to your specification using our materials or your materials made to order in just about any design that inspires you to get prayed right up.
Farah has about over 100 in her inventory pre-made, and guys, yes, there's plenty of rosaries and designs for you, so to give to your father, for yourself, for your own prayer life.
We have a variety of exorcism medals, including the St. Benedict cross, beads, anything for your spiritual warfare needs. So, if you'd like some more information, find my page, Prayers by the Bead.
The Real Deals are on the air now. And now, live from the Swords of St. Michael Studios, it's The Real Deals. Kenneth and Farah's Deel.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Real Deals. We are in the house tonight, and this is a special episode. Deb's in the background. She's not on assignment tonight. She is on assignment here. And hopefully Deb is with us right now, unlike last week.
I'm here with you, Ken.
You can call this a special episode because it's dedicated solely to the cases that we worked on. Some of them we probably shouldn't even bring a smidgen of it because of legal reasons or whatever. Good legal reasons, but... And others past and present. It depends on how many we get in tonight. Some of them, maybe from Farah's past or mine. Mostly we're going to talk about the ones we work on together, and we go into detail, and we can kind of feed off each other. Right, Farah? Sound like a plan?
Of course.
For the people at the LNM radio network, apparently someone gave me the wrong password. I double-checked it twice. I typed it on a notepad, copied and pasted it, and that didn't work, and it never connected this round. I did a test stream, and they gave me a different password at that time, and I had a little voice in my head kind of say, leave that one in. Just because it looks like all the other information was the same. So why wouldn't the password have been the same? So and that was from the text. So if
Crazy,
Someone's going to have to go in here
crazy.
and tell them or something, or we're not going to be live at all on that radio network simultaneously. So much for that, right?
Exactly.
But I guess there's no time like the present. We'll say the St. Michael prayer. Would you like to say it in Latin tonight, dear?
Sure, darling. Give us a sign-in.
Find the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
In nome Dei Patri et Filio et Spiritus Sancto, sicut erat et principio et nunc et semper ex saecula saeculorum. Amen. Sanctum Michael Arcangele defende nos in prelio contra nequitiam et insidiis diaboli est presidium. Imperili Deus supplicis de peccamur tuque, princeps militia celestis satana maliosque spiritus malignos, qui ad perditionem animarum pervegantur in mundo divina virtute, in infernum trude. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, let's get the show
What a day. What
going.
a
My
day, what a
gosh, look,
day.
we got a full house. Ron, Steve, Tony, Jennifer, Santo, Deborah, Carolyn, Zulma. Hey, we got a Francois in the house. We got a Ron, Greg, and Tony. So good to see everybody tonight on a Sunday night, first night of Advent. And Deb, our sister's in the house tonight.
Oh, yes, you like our reef?
Let's bring down the house tonight.
Wait,
That's
where's my-
right.
All the Twinkies are gone. They're probably down here somewhere.
But the turkeys are everywhere.
Yeah, that's
Just
for
go
sure.
in the oven and hit.
It's just by
Yes.
magic.
Get your tiki.
That reminds
Easy,
me, we
easy. Hey, and thanks, Steve Foster, for reminding everybody. Give us a like, hit the little thumbs up button so our little video goes topple to the top so people
Yeah.
might be able to find us and see us. And if you're wondering and in chat, please click on, there's a little tiny button above all the chat, and it says go to live chat, because if you stay on top chat, you're going to miss some things that people say. Right, Carolyn? Yep.
That's right.
Ah, some Italian accent, Francois Robillard. It's actually a Hispanic accent, so thank you. Let's get on with the show.
I
Yeah.
thought that was Hispanic accent. It was a very well done Hispanic accent.
Thank you very much. I couldn't help it. I grew up with Spanish, Italians, Mexicans, Chinese, Japanese, Hong Kongese, Filipinos. I mean, I can try and speak anything. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. Yeah. Oh, Athena's in the
Well,
house.
that's because you're a military brat. to begin
Exactly.
with.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
the brat kind of thing's kind of like hung around too.
The military brat.
that
thing.
that hasn't really gone anywhere. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
So tonight we decided this is our first night for L&M radio, and we decided that our first show was going to be a serious, intense look at some of the things that we don't normally talk about. A lot of times we do interviews, kids, and we don't tell you a lot of the severe stuff that we have to pray about, that we see, things that kind of make our throats clutch up and go, oh, okay, time to pray. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about it tonight. Basically, it's also, this is a great night for it, because this, begins our 4-week journey into Advent to begin the Christmas season. And as we await in expectation all the things we're going to talk about tonight, the great thing is battle's already been won, so we don't have to worry about too much of the horrible stuff.
Yeah.
So what would you like to start with, Ken?
I'd like to start with correcting my spelling. Okay,
Yeah, that's a start, Ken.
Yeah, spelling would help, but everybody knows.
Oh, it's even worse on a cell phone.
Off with how many years you and Ken have together with demonology.
Going on a decade now.
Yeah,
Together
I know.
personally?
It's over 20 years, and then going on to the next.
It's going on
year.
long years.
What's that, like almost
Yeah.
42 years?
Separate, I have 35, 45, 55. I've got almost 40 years. About 45 years. Now that seems like a lot. Or is it 35? 10, 20, 30? Yeah, 35.
Yeah, I had my first
gosh, I'm
Scooby-Doo
not that
case when I was
old.
18. So let's see if I'm
Really
50,
nice
almost
to see.
58.
These are the things people
So that's
want
40.
to know
Yes.
to start. To start.
Yeah, about
Okay, take it from there.
about 42 on this one. I had a Scooby-Doo style case when I was 18. And, just because I don't come every day.
I knew it.
When I had it was like $5,000 when I was trying to get a newspaper ad for something unrelated. And I was thinking, $5,000? How did Ed Lorraine Warren ever do this? And working on a small salary or whatever like that. But that's the big thing. You're just not going to just have them all crawl to you with no web, and phones are too expensive to even do long distance. Man, the girlfriends are expensive back then. You're better in a big city.
Also, when you bring up Ed Lorraine about a paycheck, they lived off their artwork. They painted, and they sold their artworks. That's how they made their money. Yeah,
but I don't know. You can ask my grandmother. I mean, my step. What would she be?
Oh my gosh!
His
mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law.
His mother-in-law. He can't even talk about it. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, she's an artist, and she sells those paintings for like
Hi, Jennifer Malik. I see you out there.
But that's something we're going to do tonight. But if we're not broadcasting at our channel, I think we're going to probably have to give a bio again next week if I don't get anybody to answer me back.
Will. I mean,
and I don't even know. And I'm even saying in the chat room, hey, contact the network administrator. Give me the rest of the password.
Give another bio next week.
I'm thinking, yeah.
But I'm a little off on that. But so the show must go on. But so I can't get anybody to answer.
And you know what? There's only so many hours in the day. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
I hate building up for stuff, and that's the way it is too. All right. Well, anyway. Okay, I've started about to keep the flow of the show, but I just might as well just give up. What's the point of coming in 15 minutes late eventually? Okay, so and there was nothing but parapsychology around at some point, and you just couldn't go to a library or you go and find a priest, and because it was the 60s and the 70s.
And we're talking about like all the way back, when you guys, it's like back in like the day when you guys were probably just like born, like back in the 70s. You guys were cute little things, Yeah,
there wasn't that stuff until the Exorcist. That's why Gabriel Avorth liked it. And it was the hippie movement. It was modernism. It's charismatic replacing the more traditional sense, which was what we follow. We don't follow the charismatic stuff and that stuff that was introduced by the other denominations. We follow the old way that's been successful since especially the notable Nicole Aubry exorcism in France in 1580. That's the way we do it. And the priests, luckily in this area that we work with, that have been assigned to us by a miraculous gift, also have that kind of viewpoint. And that's exactly what we need. Don't try something new. Stick with the old. You'll be spending 7 hours instead of 20 minutes kicking a demon out of somebody. In a simple case. We'll be like Bob Larson. I beat up on them a lot. Wait a minute. Is that right? Yes, it is when they're frauds. Okay, let's get started with what we need to talk about. So I'll pull one out here, and then Farah, you can pull one out. That I want to mention this thing about this couple who lived in this area. It's not important. And he was from the Philippines because he lived there for a while, but he didn't look Filipino. And he married a Filipino wife, and they were married for 5 years. And when they ran into us, what kind of condition was he in from this this curse is what it's going to turn out to be. Can you detail it from your point of view, Farah? Do you remember which one I'm talking about? Or I got to throw you a few more bones.
Basically, a lot of times when we get initial case calls, and this is how we handle them. First of all, it's so funny because the first thing people want to know, Deb, they call us and they're like, I really got a problem. Can you tell me how much do you charge? And we're like, huh? We don't charge anything. Or we get the notes. I really, really, really need some help, and I've been to a lot of different places, and they're just typing away. And I was referred to you, and I think I have a lot of faith in you. I think you can probably help me. Can you tell me how much money I've got to give you? And it's like, what? It's like people off the top, they think A, they have to give us money up front. B, they've got to pay for whatever it is that we do. Okay, there are no magic wands. All right? No magic wands. There's no money changing hands for what we do, okay? We do for you to get comfortable with God. We don't do it for ourselves. We don't do it so you can convert and be like a Christian. We hope you do. We come to you to say, hey, you're drowning out in the ocean. We got this nice little donut and you can see it. We can squeeze it. We can toss it. But you've got to catch it.
That's right. There's no monetary
Never.
value
Never.
ever on a spiritual gift.
No.
You just don't charge. There's no monetary.
Gosh. No.
And when people need help, you just help them. And if people go to psychics and they charge money,
Yes.
well, they're throwing their money out the window. Hey, give it to me if you want. But there's no monetary on whatever you do that's spiritual, that's God-given.
And that's the wonderful thing, is that people are kind of in shock. There's actually people that don't charge. And I think that is the biggest blessing.
It's supposed to be, Farah. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
People are not supposed to charge.
Oh, no,
Ever,
not at all.
Ever.
And I just want to bring up something real quick. Francois Robillard in the chat room is saying that, he's amazed because he got involved in it with an exorcist at 13. When Ken and I say
Can't be
that,
Catholic.
we have experience at 13, yeah, very much so, if he had an exorcist come into his house.
Yeah. Oh,
When we
okay.
say that we had experiences with, I had experiences helping people get out of severe, horrible instances of cult activities in high school, that if we went back to my high school class, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember you. Oh yeah. I grew up around the Love Israel cult. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Grew up on and that was just like one of many places from the military standpoint. But Ken and I had experiences at very young ages. And sadly, that there's an expression that iron sharpens iron. When you are exposed to the level of activity that I was, or that Ken was, or that Deb had to live through, you get sharp very fast. Either that, or you whittle away to nothing. So the case that Ken was talking to make a long story short, bring it fully
Yeah, sorry
around
about
completely, is that, you left the room, so I didn't want to, pull in any details that you couldn't
Yeah.
follow me through.
Yeah, apparently we're live on there. Now we're not using a direct stream connect, but in other words, by satellite.
Yay! We're on
We're
satellite.
broadcasting to New York,
I
so we're
love
all on LNMRadionetwork.com, and in the chat, you can find the links in the realdeals.com website. Hey, and I changed my hat color too. Hey, how about that? The other one was too hot. It's like I'm kind of caught in the middle. On that case, yes, the case was a great one because it kind of personifies when people don't get themselves in knee deep from the things that they do to bring it in themselves. When you're actually a victim, like we're led to believe that every haunted family on
True.
TV and on the
Very
movies
true.
is always a haunted victim. Then you find out that they were having affairs on each other. And you're like, oh, no wonder, that kind of thing. Or practicing forms of black magic, that kind of thing. That's not surprising. But they were a real sweet couple. They've been married for 5 years, very happy together. But he was to the point, after 5 years of this curse taking place, that he was disabled. He was on disability, and he couldn't work his job. And when he got out, when we finally met up with him, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We're going to jump back, though. He needed a cane and assistance, but he was better then. Can you imagine what he was like before?
Well, the question that you had said was, how were we to deal with this case? Now, if there's a gentleman in chat, he's been married to a beautiful Filipino woman. And my mom's best friend growing up was Filipina, and yes, she could curse. And just like every culture, there are, Christian practices and there are pagan practices.
Yeah.
And every culture has a slightly different method of cursing, pagan altars, causing curses, and there are also, sex within sex, SECTS. I'm not talking about SEX, okay, kids? Sex within sex.
That's hard to say.
I know, I'm trying.
It sounds better coming out of your face, though.
I'm trying so hard.
That was easy.
But
No, it wasn't.
so consequently, when we talk about this case, this was fortunately not as bad as some of the cases could be of curandera, voodoo. I'm trying to think of the one I can't. It's like when you're old, you have the name of the Philippines.
I know, I'm getting bad that way.
It's like it doesn't come out, okay? So, yes, exactly, Athena. Some churches may support these pagan things, especially overseas when they don't understand some of the ramifications and what they're doing. But It's interesting. This case, like I said, this one could have been a lot worse than it was.
Oh, yeah.
But he had been cursed by a jealous woman many years before and didn't even realize it. He had no idea until he started. And see, this is what we have to do. We have to play Sherlock Holmes, all right? Usually the most obvious thing is usually it. And when you eliminate everything else, what are you left with? I love Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he liked he didn't know he was cursed, and then he's had it for a little bit, and then she tells him in some letter or something, oh, yeah, by the way, I cursed you. Because she's like heartbroken or something, and he broke up with her and whatever, and didn't get over it. And that's why it's more interesting, because then we find out there was a curse put on there, but I don't think he knew what to do with it. And he was practicing Catholic. I don't know how well, like, is he going more than once a week or anything like that? I don't recall that detail right there, the past of it. But the time that we met up was about a week after we had first talked on the phone, and we gave him instructions. I don't know if we got to send him mails that quick. I think he was going to meet with us sooner with the medals and, St. Benedict and the miraculous medal. But like I said, we met up with him, and he had already been doing the curses. Well, we prescribed 9 days of breaking curses prayers. We do typically, this for what we think is a curse placed on by a person, proximity to a demonic location, or if you get unwillingly stuck in attending an exorcism, because it's a relative, and you need to hold them down or something like that. Proximity can get you haunted, possessed, oppressed, all that kind of thing. So
got to be open.
Yeah. And
Ken, we do have a question
about this case.
Quick question from the
Okay,
chat room.
go ahead.
It's when people do deliverance full time, how do they make ends meet? I agree that charging is immoral and sinful. So how do you and Farah have a different lifestyle? How do you live? That people want to know, how do you live?
How do we live? That's a trade secret.
Very poorly. Very poor. Well, I shouldn't say we're Franciscans.
You guys write books, and
yes.
You're also artists in your own way, and you make jewelry.
Totally.
This is the things people
Rosaries.
need to know about you.
Well, they need to know that we don't drive Porsches. All our cars we have a couple cars that are like, over 25 years old. We are Franciscans, and as professed Franciscans, which means that we have made a profession to live a life simply of poverty, chastity, and obedience. We embrace that by living a life as simply as possible. As you can see, it's very easy to do when you choose not to have the latest car, the latest clothes, the latest jewelry. We don't live to spend money. We live to do the best that we can to help other people not go through the hell that we went through and lived through. And as Franciscans, we're able to do it because we work out of the home. And we have multiple businesses, like Deb said. We write books. We do not have to charge because God provides and everything.
That's amazing. Even if it's just a smidgen right there in the dangerous line, like we go over a little bit, we're going to be under budget, that kind of thing. But we are self-employed.
Farah is an artist. Farah is an artist.
Yeah, jewelry artist.
She makes jewelry, and she makes rosary beads.
Well, rosaries
and business online.
Yes.
So this is the way of providing for your family.
Oh, true. And I've got an art show this weekend too. I'm doing over at the college. So yes, we have like many balls that we juggle to bring it in.
Yeah, and that's important too because it frees you up for a lot of extra time. I can take calls at any time of the day.
Exactly.
Sometimes I'm on in the morning.
People can call us. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll be at a show and I can take a call and I can say, "Hey, watch the table," and I can take a call for minutes.
Yeah, I've been self-employed one way or another since the 90s. Before that was
on call.
Yes.
Yeah, that's important, and because we don't have to wait till the weekends, or we don't have to wait till a bunch of people line up because it's just us in the last 10 years, or it was by myself before. I went to conventions and stuff. The kids were babysitted or whatever, but it hasn't really changed that, except in the 1990s, and you're self-employed way back then too, way probably before that. And then I had bands, but that was a supplement before the 90s. And you can make like $300 a week in that with the venues. Back then, bands were in demand. Everybody wanted to see my MTV live.
Yeah.
But Farah, you were doing NASCAR circuits and a bunch of other stuff around there, weren't you?
Oh my gosh, I was doing indie films, Deb, and making money for like jumping on caskets. I was doing the Discovery Channel, doing this Jobs a Trip. I was doing like making money, you know, hand over fist, doing all these little things. I mean, not making a lot of money, but I was supporting myself. I had my own little condo, and just traveling and just doing crazy stuff, and then coming home, and then I was blessing properties.
Survival. That's what it was. Survival.
Then you did your other thing at nighttime.
You did what you had to do.
Moonlighting.
Well, it wasn't so much nighttime; it was afternoon. Because even then, I was like, I'm not doing any stupid overnights. I don't need to be someplace overnight to deal with what you got to deal with. So any teams I worked with over in Plymouth, I don't know if you remember me. Hello, it's Farah here. We didn't need to go at night. Okay, we went in the afternoon, and any property I blessed, I did it during the day. I took my little holy water, and my stuff, and my salt. I don't go at night, okay? I'm not interested in playing with what you got at night. Whatever's at night can stay there. No, thank you.
Exactly, and didn't you also in Michigan, you were like a narrator or something to do with
my gosh. Deb, I was...
houses.
Yes, I was in Mrs. Michigan America, and I used to do the auto shows.
The auto shows.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I used to do that because, you know, I like to make money, and I like to go do all these stupid modeling things because it was great. I'd get like free furs, I'd get free clothes, I'd get trips and stuff, and then I get some cash. So, yeah, I like to juggle those gypsy balls and go, oh, what's on the job list today? Totally, Deb. Yeah, I think that's I like variety. I like variety. So that's I think and that gives me the ability to talk to everybody.
Down.
No.
You have the option of you know, accepting what you want to do. What you know, the next level of your life is going to be like.
Until she met me.
I know.
Yeah.
Then I'm trapped.
Oh my gosh. It would have ended a lot earlier if I met you back then, Farah.
For you, Ken.
Oh my gosh. So, you know, just to give a little bit of background, we both had a variety of backgrounds with different people, different situations, and for whatever reason, God has allowed us to juggle the variety of things we do and not have what people say real jobs. I mean, and both of us have been nailed for that, Deb. Why don't you get a real job? Why don't you go get a real job? Why don't you get a real job? It's like, excuse me, what is a real
you were
job?
doing a real job.
Life is a real job.
As Ken goes, all right, Ken was in a band earlier, okay, years before he met you, but that's how he lived his life in a band. But you know what? Ken's background, his aunt was what, a nun, and his uncle, is it Ken? Your uncle was a priest?
Yes, he's got priests and nuns in his family.
Priest, nun, Monsignor, bishop, brother.
Yes.
And what does Ken do now today? In his younger years, in his 20s, okay, we all had to experience our 20s, okay?
Yes.
But now that he's a little older, he and you have come to the part where, okay, this is our life. This is what we need to do. You know, there is definitely a calling, or you two would have never been together. If it wasn't a calling, you two would have never been together.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I told him. I said,
God's grace that you two fell in love with each other.
Oh, it was totally God. And I was telling Ken the other day that I picked up my first book because I've done all kinds of stuff with teams and helping people, but I picked up my first book on exorcism on the major rite 27 years ago. 27 years ago. So, you know, this is just background information. I know you guys want us to get to the cases, so we're going to jump right into this. The Curse in the Filipino. This was it was a witch.
She had cursed him, and he had debilitating health issues that was crumbling through the years. Now, when I mean crumbling, he didn't have, a lot of times you'll see obvious things in 3s and 4s that just kind of hit you. Then you might get a little bit of relief, and then it'll knock you down again. This was consistent with this guy. Remember that, Ken?
Mm-hmm.
It was just, he was miserable, and he had gone to doctors. He had gone to physical therapy. He had gone to those healing masses. He'd had hands laid on him. He had tried everything, absolutely everything, and he was desperate for some relief.
It's like Parkinson's, and he said it was just like totally debilitating.
He was so sweet.
He couldn't walk, get out of bed. A lot of times.
Wow.
Yeah, and doctors didn't know what it was. They did all the brain scans, everything. Nothing was there. No signatures, no markers, no indicators, no red flags. It was mysterious, just like the case in the very top called Love Curse. That's what curses do. They baffle the doctors. They come mysteriously, leave mysteriously if the person's blessed. If something happens. I mean, not blessed by a priest, and then I mean if they get blessed because them taking action to do something to solve the problem with the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the intercession of angels and saints. I'll go ahead, Deb. Go ahead. Let's hear what you're going to say.
What I was going to say, the case that always sticks out in my mind is, I don't think it was that far from your house. It wasn't that far from your house.
Yeah.
And it was the shadow figure, and you actually had seen it, Ken and Farah?
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposedly of a guy, and it was about crossing the street. And once he saw you, Ken, he wouldn't cross the street. Something about that.
Gosh, there's been so many of those because we get visited.
Yeah.
It's like
well, let's finish up that last
a
one
little
for the
more.
people that are following the Filipino Curse.
Oh, okay.
This
Hold that
was
thought.
a minor rite, and this was this had to be done, of course, on hallowed ground nearby where this could be easily accessed. And we had his wife praying with us, and we had him bless himself. See, the biggest thing that we do when we pray and we work with deliverance is we teach people how to pray for themselves and how to deliver themselves, how to take spiritual authority and take part in deliverance. Because, okay, I don't have any spiritual authority over you. You're not possessed, you're oppressed, you're vexed, but God does, and you do. So that was the beautiful thing, was that he participated. What was it? He had relief that night, Kenny, from what was bothering him. And he was like literally in tears. He was such a sweetheart.
We met at the chapel, and before he got to us, he had he related to when he got to us, because we didn't hear about it before, so we're pleasantly surprised to some degree, because it sounded a little more like it was going to be more severe. But never underestimate, because the person, their spiritual health makes the difference. Are they ready for it? Or are they really ready to commit to keep the 7 more from coming back? So when he came with us, he says it's gone 80%. He did Breaking Curses prayers for 9 days. He did some other prayers. I think all of them are on our website, swordofsaintmichael.org. And when he met with us, he said, I had this spot on my lip that was getting bigger, and it was causing my lip to swell on that side. He says, I was seeing the doctor this week because he thought it should have a biopsy after he looked at it the first time when I was there.
Yes.
He says he was thinking it's cancer, so he's going to order that. And when he got to us, he said, that fell off in the middle of the night, and then I woke up, and I didn't have, about 80% of my symptoms were gone. And he got out of the car with a cane. I heard that he couldn't even get out. He had to be helped. He helped himself out. His wife was there to catch him just in case he fell.
No, his wife was a doll.
So it worked. It started working already.
And you said, are you ready to commit?
Yeah.
That is the key word. Are you ready to commit? In other words, that tells me, are you in God's grace? Are you ready to commit your soul to God?
Yeah.
Basically.
Just
and
like that, the
fortunately,
full trustful surrender.
That case, okay, folks, we have to be really honest with you about cases. Certain cases,
Brutally
God's
honest.
grace is on them. It has nothing to do with us. We are not doing anything. All we're doing is asking for God's intercession, for the saints' intercession, and for St. Michael's intercession. We are not doing anything. So don't ever think that we have done anything. Okay?
Yeah.
We're not heroes. We're not, exorcists or anything like that. We're helping people do deliverance by helping them.
That's a good point. You know why?
Themselves.
Because you give them the same exact prayers that we
Yes.
use, and they're in the same spiritual state themselves, at least. Like some priests may not even have the we'll just say the faith, a lot of them don't want to deal with this stuff. And will it affect his ability to be able to remove a demon from a person in deliverance? I don't know. It varies. It's hard to tell. I can't see their soul. Only God knows that.
No, only God knows that. And this is the point. You don't have to be Catholic. You don't even have to be a Christian to receive deliverance. God's already got a divine spark inside of you. Okay? All you got to do is say yes and no to all the stuff that has been vexing you. In God's grace, okay, you're delivered. Yeah. It's that simple. People don't want to believe it, but there, it's out. Let's get through some of these cases because people are like getting antsy. Okay, what is the possession of Miss T?
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to finish this real quick.
Okay, go ahead. He's going to wrap it up.
We did pray over him, and what happened next was he was home for a week, and then he realized he has, what he described, and I said it was an infestation. It left him, went into his house, and it took a step back. It went back to the way they haunt the house, and then they go after somebody in the house. And I said, we can come over in like 4 days. I said, but you can do this tonight. Take the holy water and bless your house. And he did that. So we called him in 4 days. You still want us to come over? He says, no, got rid of it. He had the scratching in the walls and all the symptoms, the shadows at the corners of his eyes when you turn his head. It's not there. But I just wanted to throw that in there. See how simple it is sometimes? I mean, the simplicity is the pattern. But I thought that was a great case study. Might go in one of our next books in a short reference. We don't write storybooks, though. We write textbooks, and we use the stories to reference what we're talking about in text. What sounds good with you, Farah?
Oh, I was just thinking, let's get into the next one, Possession of Miss T.
Let's see. Yes. Oh, wow, this is a hairy one, too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know what it means. And I didn't show you the list before the show in that sense, trying to hyphenate it and stuff like that to keep it short and sweet.
That's
without
quite all right.
giving away. This one was another local one. And what I mean a local, that means when we have to drive like maybe 15 minutes instead of 4 hours and longer. And she was somebody who dabbled in the dark, what they call the black Wicca, that thing. It's the skull face, hood of specter one. This one had a lot of things. Usually, most of the time, I don't know, you want to say 90%? You'll go there if it's not a possession. And you'll go to the most haunted house in the world, and they won't do anything. The most they do is you leave the room, and then a picture falls off the wall, which could have been because the house is junky. They're good for the doctor sometimes, so you can, if you're into the investigation thing, looking for evidence, you'd be really disappointed a lot of times. That's how you can get hundreds of cases in, because a lot of this stuff you can get done a very quick time, because you're not waiting all night to hear something and see something. You can get the truth other ways, too. The possession is a case of that which brought it in, which we didn't know right away. So when we heard it, she was talking to us on the phone.
Yes.
And she started getting, as soon as she got us on the phone, we didn't hear her say any prayers. Mm-hmm. She went under right there. And they had to hold her. And so I'm sitting there doing deliverance prayers with Farah on the phone. I don't mean to laugh or anything like that, but it sounds silly.
Let's preface that. Let's preface what happened to that.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of controversial if you end up doing it. But when you have to do it on the phone, God will do it. But if you're, Larson, and you're doing it on Skype and you're charging, what is it, $2,000 or $250? I don't remember. That is wrong and wrong and wrong. Don't expect God to give you the grace to reach out like that. It's not them anyway.
No.
Okay, Farah, what was what did you want to go to?
I wanted you to preface that before you got on the phone.
Yeah. What are you telling? You want me to fill what?
I want you to tell people what happened before that on the phone.
Before she called us? I don't remember.
Okay.
We got a hold of her, and she got a hold of us through Father.
Yes.
Who passed away. God rest his soul.
Yes.
He's the guy who used to bless our St. Benedict medals. He was a Benedictine.
Yes, very holy man.
Yeah, and we were talking to her on the phone, and I don't remember what the conversation was. I got a recording of it on my phone logs. Yeah, the logs, but no, I don't remember. We have to do that because it's a legal thing. And we don't send it out public anyway, so, no one should be afraid to record phone conversations with clients. It can save your butt, literally. We never had to deal with that, though, luckily. Okay, go ahead.
Go on.
Okay, all right. Okay, no, I don't recall that, because it's not really as relevant, but,
what ended up happening with Mrs. T?
She went under possession on the phone, and then we ended up saying prayers over her until it backed off. And then we went over, did we go over the next morning right away? And we brought our clipboard. We thought it was going to be an interview only. She was there. earlier, and she went out to do something or whatever. And I kind of thought that we should anyway. So I'm going to bless your house.
I think you need to tell people what. This is what I was saying about the phone call. Sometimes people don't understand. A lot of people think that you can froth at the mouth and be like, "Oh, you stupid baby, f this and f that." Yeah, that's kind of. It sounds like somebody's possessed. And depending on the incidents, the invitation, where the entrance is, and how the person's relationship is with ever the demonic tribe that they're working with, this is going to dictate how they appear and how they come out. In Deb's case, it was so violent and so angry it almost destroyed her family. In this case that we had to deal with Miss T, the offending entities basically were rendering her to a level of about a 4-year-old. And when we work with cases like this, a lot of times, as you'll find if you speak or you research with exorcists, a lot of times bad possession cases, bad vexation cases, they start with a soul wound, a wound that's so deep that sometimes people don't even know they've been molested at 3 months or 3 years of age. And this is what was happening with her. Was she was actually aware that something was wrong with her. It was so very sad. And she would literally, you could see the change on her face from the adult awareness to the child innocence to the abject fear in her face, where she was just like, she was just ready to pull her little blankie over her head and just cry. And then it was not her. It was not her. Her voice was not her. Her expressions, the way she twisted and contorted, was not her. Now,
that's it. The contortion, Farah. That's it. The contortion. That'll pull it right out, right there. The contortion. I've seen it, and I have witnessed it. And a person who could never, ever move in those type of conditions.
No, not on her own. And it you know, the sad thing is that Ken and I knew something was really wrong, really bad. And you know, her parents had talked to nuns, and they had priests pray over her. They had nuns pray over her, and they were trying to get her to somebody that, you know, that would help her. So we had to go out there and we had to interview her. And of course, you know, my husband, who we have a rule, we never take any calls when we're on site doing an initial interview. All right, before we, you know, pray, we do the litany of the saints, or we help people, or we show them how to bless their house. We don't take any calls ever. Well, of course.
And also, you're in the mode of fasting.
Oh yeah, well, that's beforehand. Yeah, exactly, because I don't walk on there and
you're in the mode of fasting before you even go out there. You have to.
I do. I do all my prayers in Latin, and there is a reason for it. The devil hates Latin, for one, because it's been used for thousands of years for the church. Two, most people don't understand what you're saying, so they're not going to interrupt you, and they'll just sit there and go, "Okay." Serious.
That can also be
when we went out there, you know, to do the initial interview, and we had gotten some pages of interview. She wasn't there. She was out. She was actually at a doctor's appointment. And we were very, very lucky that we were able. See, when you have somebody that is experiencing symptoms all by themselves, there's no witnesses. And this is very, very difficult for any level of credibility. It's very difficult for them to get help. And it's very difficult for them to be pushed away and further invaded by the enemy. Whereas this person was surrounded by people that loved her and that cared about her and really wanted to help her. So what we went there to do was, let's talk to all the family members. She shows up. She walks into the group of us, and there are 3 men and 2 women and myself and Ken.
Oh, let's mention, I did blessed. It's not called blessing, but
Yes.
it's because mainstream. I'm using a mainstream term. Bless the house. In other words, we cleansed it using holy oil, holy water, frankincense, and myrrh before she got there. Just so you know, when she arrived and sat on the porch swing, the whole inner house and the property in the four corners had been already sealed. And that'll play a part later on, because this is a longer story.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Farah, sorry about that.
Well, somebody was just saying in chat room that it could have been multiple personality disorder. Actually, this was just dissociative. This was DID. And the reason that she was diagnosed with DID, Deb, was basically because she didn't remember it. She lost tracks, big blocks of time where she's like, oh, I don't remember doing that. I didn't say that. I didn't buy that sort of thing. And
Exactly.
yeah, it's so sad. Or she would, she would just have such a major mood swing that she'd like, did I just do that? It was almost like she was half there. Like she described it as watching herself in a fishbowl. And it's like, oh yeah, poor kid. She was such a sweet gal. So we were about to sit down with her when she walked up and get ready to interview her. She hadn't walked. Now, granted, let me tell you guys something. There's something that I must be honest about. I never, ever, ever, ever walk onto anyone's property without one of the most important things that gives me peace and strength.
Wait, can I guess it?
Yes, you can.
Wine?
St. Benedict.
Yes, I have a bone. I have a relic of St. Benedict. Just like in the Bible, when Paul's robe was taken to heal people, we carry relics. And I have a bone of St. Benedict, and I have a eensy-meensy little splinter of the True Cross that I was given from an estate of a Chicago professor.
So
that
you have first and second class relics.
I have first, second, and third. And the first class relic, of course, would be a bone. It would be an actual piece. Like I have a piece of cloth of St. Margaret of Cortona. That is a second class relic. I have a piece of shoe from Rose of Lima, which is a second class relic. We have a bone. Yeah, so, an actual physical piece.
The bone is always a first class
always
relic.
first class relic.
Yeah,
So-
and the cloth is always the second class relic.
Something they wore when they lived.
This was this was one of those places that there was no way I was going. So I had a reliquary rosary. We had we hadn't exposed them. And this is the thing, folks. If you are working to help people and you carry reliquaries, you carry relics, the demons know it and they want nothing to do with you or it.
Yeah, you might provoke
They are
it instead of
so
protecting yourself.
And you don't even have to wear it outside. You can have it hidden.
And I have it's a first class relic
Yes.
of St. John Bosco.
Oh my gosh,
Oh, yeah.
how
We
wonderful.
saw that movie.
I'm going to send you some cloth to rub on it so I can have a third class.
Yeah, what's
So-
interesting about that, I don't know if you...
And and what I'm going to send you eventually, because I know that you will appreciate it. It's well, we used it back in the day when we needed to use it. I forgot what it's called, but it's for sickness, it's for health, it's for demons. We used it back in the day.
Yes.
And I know it sells on eBay, and I won't sell it. It sells for over $300
Oh
on
my
eBay.
gosh.
But I want you and Ken to have it.
Oh, you're so sweet.
That's nice, Dad.
Aw, you're such a
It
love.
was actually used in the possession of David. And
Oh my
I
gosh.
can't sell it.
No,
So
never.
That's something
Help
I'm
stay in
gonna
our
send
family.
to you and Ken.
It will stay in the family, and if somebody becomes a priest, that's where it's going to go, sweetie.
It's because it's a very holy object.
Yes. Yes.
I'll look it up online again, what it's called.
Oh my
But
gosh.
It has the Blessed Mother and everybody in there, and you open it up and it's a cabinet, and it's for the holy water, the holy salt, and the oil, and everything. And
I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh my gosh, Deb.
Of it,
just gave me chills.
I want you guys to have.
Hey, just a quick note, so we have.
And I want you to have that.
Oh my gosh, Deb.
We didn't really give a good introduction because we came in late on the radio network, but this is Deb Johnson, Deborah Glassell of the days of old, Dublin, Connecticut,
the Dublin,
demon murder
Connecticut,
case.
The Devil Made Me Do It case. That is basically one of the worst ones, and I've read many since I've met Ken. I didn't know of any of these until I met him. Isn't that crazy? I didn't know of your case, Deb, till I met him.
And the others that seem like they're worse are actually made up. This one's totally true.
In my home,
yes.
I would rather see you and Ken have it. I will never sell it. I would just turn it over, and I don't care if you put it in a museum or if you have it in your house.
No, it'll go on our altar. You know where our altar is, sweetie.
That's a perfect spot for it.
It is, and I can hang it right on the wall.
Yeah.
I can hang it right there.
I won't give it to my boys because they wouldn't know what to do with it. You will know what to do with it.
Oh, yes. And we actually take one just like that's got everything exorcised on site with St. Benedict and candles and salt and everything else.
Yeah.
And Ken didn't even expose that on this site when this girl went under. And I want to tell you that, like I said, I was standing there talking to her stepmother. She walked right in front of me, and all of a sudden, her shoulders kind of sank, her posture changed, her head did this weird kind of like contortion, like it was coming off of its base, and I saw her say, "Oh, Daddy," and it was like, oh my gosh, that sound that came out of her mouth. Ken's phone is ringing. Ken's phone is ringing, and he's going to answer it. I'm looking at him, and then all of a sudden, her arms and legs are like an octopus. She falls in her dad's lap, and she's like, and he's calling for, his friend, who is like, his friend is like 300 pounds. He's 200 pounds. The other kid is like 100 pounds. He's got her legs. She's got her torso. And she's bucking these three men and smacking her arms. And I'm like, I'm grabbing her mother. I'm like, we got to do the litany right now. So I'm like pulling out the rosary.
The other one.
And he's walking off in the yard talking to somebody, and I'm like, oh my word.
Yeah, it was our son. He called to ask what he could have for lunch. Can you believe it? And as soon as I left the porch, that's when it happened. I come back and I'm like, oh boy. So I'm like looking for the crucifix because I just came there to get an intake. I didn't think it'd be cocky enough to do this. It's not the first time we got faced by that, but nothing violent. This is a violent spirit.
I think what it was
is just cussed and everything. And
hissed and said,
and
you cannot have her. You are not touching her. She's mine. That usually, when you're talking in the third person and somebody isn't in the mental facility, that's usually a good indication, especially when somebody does not remember it.
Father Driscoll said that's a sign right there, one of the signs of that it's not multiple personality disorder or related to whatever the new terminology is. That when they refer to themselves as the third person. And there's some other signs, and they should be taken note of. Some of them are in Father Chad Rippiger's book. The Introduction to Science of Mental Health. Very fat book, but it treats the spiritual and the mental as equal. So that you should consider both and test for both as a psychologist. So I think they all should be trained both ways. So that we've been running into too many of the other ones lately. So I don't even know if I'm going to mention it tonight. I don't know if I'm going to talk about the when it's mental health and it's not so much spiritual, even anything less than we face on a daily basis. But there's a suture. You remember I heard the guy ask, "You sure it wasn't paranoid schizophrenic or something?" One of the reasons we know it wasn't because of the conditions of the possessed that fit two of the criteria. And the other thing, we saw supernatural things go on, a giant hulking blackness.
We had witnesses that actually got this on camera phones, okay? You don't get strange stuff like this on camera phones. And this is why I tell you people, don't ever send me pictures. Don't tell me don't give me pictures.
I never see, almost never. Well, you know what I mean.
But we had three people get a picture of demonic stuff right outside the property after he walked the homeowner around, and they blessed and sealed the property. The next time we got called over there, they're sitting on the porch. She, in a daze, walks all the way across the yard, and all of a sudden he sees her standing there at the edge of the property, not able to leave the St. Benedict metal line, and she's talking to nothing in the air.
And it couldn't come in.
And he's like, Ken,
we didn't tell her what we did.
I can't believe this. You got to get over here. She's talking to something, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, now around that time...
No, you would have known what it was.
Oh, yeah. Well, we saw it.
You have to go into discernment.
Deb, you would have seen it. I saw it. You would have seen it. It was physical, it was literal, it was black, and you could not miss the eyes and everything else.
You said that the picture that she took,
it was horrible.
They were watching it, and they're sitting on their porch watching this thing fly around like Slimer. You know in Ghostbusters how in somebody's like, oh, this thing got caught floating around. It was floating around like that. It was a torso of a hooded specter flying around the light like a moth. Going around there, and they said, let's get some pictures. So they took it, and when they got it, it looked halfway through them. It was proportionally perfect. A great artist did this, and it looked like it belonged there. It blended, and they're not Photoshopped. They have no computers. And I looked at that thing, and I said, yep, that's the spirit that she was basically appeasing. That Wicca religion that she was involved with. That's the icon she has in her room. You're telling me that she created that with her mind? And there was something even worse across the street when me and the ex-sheriff, who was with the stepfather in the house there, went across the street. Farah was still on the porch with the, we'll just say the victim, and she was starting to act up. At what point, was that when I started praying across the street?
What's that, honey?
I wanted to run whatever was off here when it wasn't on their property, so me and the father went across the street.
That was when she broke my rosary.
That's the case I first started to ask about. I couldn't remember all the detail.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I never really heard the account that Farah had on the porch, so I'll come in at some point whenever because I don't think that I didn't read the report on that because we knew what it was and stuff, and so you were on the porch with her and you were praying or something, or were you just saying, "Hey, you doing okay?" And me and him went across the street. And then we went right to the spot under the telephone pole. Didn't see anything. Said some prayers there. Threw some holy water, a little frankincense and myrrh, signed the cross, etc. And then I went over to the clearing. I went over around to the left. We went in there and started getting dark, like it's been cleared away, like a truck was parked there. And it was just really thick woods. And so I'm just saying prayers around that parameter. Yeah.
That's the case I was referring to.
Yeah.
Beginning.
Yeah, I got that mentioned secondly because it's kind of like twice as long. Mm-hmm. So we went around the corner, and then all of a sudden, the gal, I could hear her across the street squirming and kicking people off. It was like I'm watching it from a distance across the street, and prayers coming out of Farah. And so we kept going, and then I'm like, I don't see anything yet. And then all of a sudden, I go over this one area, and I'm like, am I seeing this right? And then the sheriff goes, there it is. And it's this big thing. Picture this guy who's 500 pounds, and he's got a cloak on. And he's got a fan blowing on it to make more Hollywood. So it looks like the cloak is flickering in the breeze. That's what it looked like, but it looked misty. And it's like he's hunched over. He didn't even stand up, like he's trying to hide. So I started throwing it at it, the holy water and the prayers. And that's what you do. You hammer it. And that's how you finish it off. You don't stop and do, now let's pray for silence. You don't do that in the bell. So I kept going, and guess what? Guess how it left? It didn't fleet like a lot of the ones we run into and the ones that visit you at night, the UFO alien wannabes and all that stuff. It slowly faded out. I saw that just like 2 other times. One of them was at Zombie Road during the investigation that, I got invited to get my thoughts on that movie, Children of the Grave. It just faded out like a translucent, was overcoming it like a Photoshop layer was being turned down to 0 opacity. And by the time we went up there, we're dealing with them. We had to run back on the porch and deal with Trish, fully possessed, back again, biting really deep into one of their men's arms, like an angry dog, pit bull that wouldn't let go. And what was going on the porch that because we're obviously dealing with our own stuff across the street. Anything to add to that, Farah?
Basically, it had started off. I was taking pictures, Deb.
Mm-hmm.
What had started as, I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie where they have the Alien movie, where you can actually literally see the energy of the alien coming through as almost like a dark, shadowy kind of form in the forest. Do you remember that movie, Deb?
Yeah.
That was really, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, looks like demons. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, Kenny, look at that. And he's like, oh yeah, that's a really popular movie. Everybody likes it. I said, seriously? That's weird. This, I'm not going to say
But,
look.
you know me by now.
Yeah.
As far as when it comes to anything alien or, I believe that we're being watched.
Yes.
We are being watched. And,
I agree.
Yeah.
They can have control over certain beings. That's just me, how I feel.
Oh,
well, I agree with Padre Pio. If we could see all, and most exorcists, if we could see the demons, they would blot out the sky.
Oh yeah, because that's the beings right there. The demons are the aliens, and they're watching us, and they have transporters. I want to tell people right now, demons are very intelligent. They're a very high intelligence. Okay,
immortal beings.
And when people say, "Oh, I seen a UFO. I seen this and that," I have too. Okay, I've seen a really big UFO.
Yeah.
Those are demons being transported.
Oh, I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
Because they are of such high intelligence. Okay, but there's no other life on any other planet but Earth.
I agree. I agree.
That's my opinion only.
That's not your opinion. That's what I believe. And actually, all the top names in addition to us.
Exactly.
They agree with that. And you remember Lorraine? One of the things I like about what she get away with, and I can take different sides on Lorraine and all that stuff. But when they're right, a lot of times it doesn't mean ignore everything when they're wrong once or twice or whatever. You know what I mean? But she said that they're like this kind of an illusion, and like Bigfoot or something like that. That's why they don't have physical characteristics where there's traces of them. NASA can't track them. The latest thing, we watched the UFO stuff for a long, long time, and the thing that it went down to was, and we're not going to stay on this because we'll talk another show about this.
Yes.
Was that they're interdimensional beings? They're not from outer space. And what are demons? They're interdimensional demons. I mean, beings. They come.
And you know what?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, you guys, but I really have to pull because I love my Summa Theologica. There are, just like the choirs of angels.
Yeah.
There are the ranks of demons. So if you think you're seeing a gray or a blue or a white alien, it's just another rank of the demonic people.
Exactly.
Yeah, we call it the Great Masquerade.
And I remember one thing Lorraine had told me personally.
Yes.
When they were out investigating Bigfoot. Okay. She was investigating Bigfoot.
I love Bigfoot.
The only thing she came up with that she had told me, because it was the most putrid, foul-smelling thing you could ever imagine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just like demons can be. Of course, that doesn't close the door on that topic.
So that was her take on Bigfoot when she was called out to investigate that.
Yes.
It's putrid, foul-smelling. And that's all, and she left it as that.
Exactly, because, as many people as chase Bigfoot and think they've seen Bigfoot, and I'm one of them, why aren't there any Bigfoot bones? Why aren't there any Bigfoot skulls? Okay?
Yeah.
Because what we were seeing was not physical.
Exactly. It's called projection. What the demonic can do is project anything they want to you.
In your mind, exactly.
Projectile, like nuns spitting out nails or hair. That's projectile. That's what we see.
Yeah, that's we haven't really talked about that much, but that's funny we can do to show all these years and we don't go into somebody's manifestations like that.
We don't, because you know what? Because I've been there, I saw that, and you too. We've been there and saw that, and so nothing actually amuses us because we've seen it, Give us something we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Well, that's
fortunate
just it,
and
folks.
unfortunate on that. That's
Demons can only use the things that have already been implanted and you've seen in your mind.
Oh yeah, and demons can project anything, whether it's nails, whether it's hair,
Exactly.
whether it's spiders coming out of someone's mouth. That's what you see, and that's what's actually coming out of the possessed person's body. That's called projectile.
And they do it for a reason. It's like it's not telling anybody anything if they're barfing up batteries, like they swallowed a battery and it's just because they show off. They're very pride filled, and sometimes that's all it is. Sometimes people try to read into that too much, and that's why we call it the psychology of demons. It's like, okay, you're a demonologist. Well, you better learn. There's also the psychology of demons, and you got to learn their war strategies because they always go for the same one, even if it means they're going to fail. Sometimes they don't care. Maybe they're...
No, exactly.
I work with a psychologist.
Yeah.
And do you know that psychologists that I've worked with have actually witnessed what I have just said, and they have no explanation except, oh my God, what did I just witness?
True.
Some side notes on this case that we're talking about with the possession of T.
And you know the person I'm talking about, Ken.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yes, I do.
He's grinning.
The was that we actually ended up asking her to go on her meds so that we could level out. Well, she could level out the play field by taking these drugs that were suppressing the pain and depression that came from her trauma, her soul wound, because that's all you got left sometimes. In other words, let's say someone's trying to attack you because they're possessed and you knock them out. Now, if sometimes that's the only recourse to get them strapped in there until you can get it to lighten up, get them on medication, get some prayers so you can get their tolerance built up by you praying for them. It's better when, their parents pray for them or something more potent about that. And they build up the tolerance and, big prayer groups. A lot of the things to feed them that, I'm going to use the word positive energy, even though it's not real energy, as someone tried to point out today or yesterday evening, arguing about the, topic of energy. If we could do a show about that, well, what's the point? And we know spirits aren't really an energy of this world. They're from the other world. But when they come here, they can manipulate the world's energy here. So that's why people say, hey, I can get an EMF reading, and then that happens to be the room that's very cold in the house. So we understand that stuff. But it's preternatural, so it's not going to follow the normal course of like, hey, it's working over here. Mr. Magnetic is, wait, he disappeared. Where did he go? Because they don't follow the normal laws here in this world. Or they can manipulate them. Little side note there.
You said, Ken, you said the magic word, preternatural.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good word because all of our priests use it, and that is the appropriate language they use. Whereas, a lot of times we just use supernatural because that's sorry, but everybody knows supernatural more than preternatural, and that's what these creatures are. They're
supernatural.
They're in a TV show.
Yeah.
People don't realize that God, our Heavenly Father, is supernatural.
They don't think about it enough, you mean, huh, too?
Exactly.
No, no, they don't know. Our Heavenly Father, God, is supernatural.
That's more of a supernatural account on that. And that's the funny thing is because we were going over last week, sorry about that, and it was Father Jordan Amen. He's a Thomasonian, as they call him sometimes, a Thomas Aquinas follower, as is Father Chad Rimminger, there's his name again. That's because he's kind of a walking representation of what the philosophies and the theology of Thomas Aquinas. He's really heavy on that stuff, and you'll pull these things out of the lives of saints that by the time I was reading all these books, I could find bits and pieces to hear about Shadow's Padre Pio experience in prisons. And that wasn't enough, but when The Demonologist came out by Gerald Brittle, I found everything in the real world right there. I wasn't a monk. I wasn't hearing confessions from people who are going to be on death row and going to die the next day. They would experience those things in extraordinary circumstances by an extraordinary saint. We're just regular people.
That's because Gerald is a theologian.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But there's all that stuff is in there, and it's like, wow. It's like, did I forget that, some of the stuff? I mean, and Father Chad reminded me because we had clergy and nuns. We all had those weird stories. And, I've heard about the Illuminati since the 60s from my father. He was an apparition, expert. I'm going to say an expert. and he was an expert on a lot of these, what they call conspiracy theories in the past, and they're true.
Yeah, your father was pretty point on. He was right on, because your father and I, we thought alike, and you know that.
Yeah, sadly, I miss him more than my mom now, probably because I feel like I didn't get to talk to him enough on that.
Tony Cobianco's got a really good point as we end this show. Mm-hmm. I think we need to, because we're going to need to do a part 2 on our case studies next week.
Perfect.
And Tony's got a good point. People, unless we talk about what preternatural is and what it means, a lot of people don't understand what that term is used for. Mm-hmm. So I think at the end of next week's show, we're going to do a little blurb on preternatural, what the understanding is about it, what it covers, and exactly what it is, and how you can understand more about how the preternatural works in your life without you even knowing about it. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming in, and thanks so much, Sue and Spa Diva and Jay Navarro and everyone for coming in late. It's okay. We're going to be archiving it here. As always, we want to tell you that our prayers are with you, and never forget that the battle's already been won, and we're all here to help you fight, and win it right. So don't forget your prayers, rabbits. Say your prayers to your guardian angel, please. Mm-hmm. That way you don't have any problems tonight with your sleep. And watch something positive and wonderful and uplifting, even if it's chant, Gregorian chant or something beautiful tonight. Call your mom and tell her you love her tonight. Just go to sleep with something peaceful and wonderful on your mind tonight. And don't forget to tune in next week, L&M. We're going to be right here doing the same thing.
Same time, same channel.
Please, Awakening, bring your questions next week so we can get to them, and love all the suggestions. You guys are fabulous. And thanks for putting up with me in chat. I was trying to type as fast as you guys. And Deb, oh my gosh, so many kudos and compliments to you. Because, Ken and I don't really like to talk too much about ourselves. We like to talk about the work. And it's like, I'd rather stay humble because,
or anything either.
Tomorrow night, Monday night, first week in Advent, is a good night for reconciliation. Of course, we're going. Mm-hmm. I don't like to brag or let anybody think that, what we do is something wonderful. What we do is we love people. And we want people to be free of what they don't understand. So stay tuned. We're going to explain what it could be next week. God bless you all. And thank you for joining us here at The Real Deals.
Thank you, guys. God bless. More next week, okay?
The Real Deals TV show, copyright 2018, a Swords of St. Michael production. Any unauthorized duplication or rebroadcast or retransmission of this broadcast without the express written permission of the Swords of the Saint Network or that of Kenneth and Farah's Deel is strictly prohibited.